Hello everyone, welcome back. So you might have seen the video where I modified the Harbor Freight axe, and today we're going to make a very simple, I guess for lack of a better term, a belt loop or a belt holster for the axe. And the great thing about this is you'll be able to put it on your belt, keep it off the ground, know where it is if you're walking around and you're using your hand axe. Or you could, if you're in a base camp somewhere and you bring yourself like a gutter spike or something, put it in a tree, and then you can hang it on the tree. Or if the tree has a little branch sticking off, you could cut the end of it, stick it on there, keep it off the ground. Like any tool, you should always take care of it, never leave them outside. When I was a kid, that was one thing my dad always got on me. Make sure you put the tools away. If you're going to use the tools, put them away right where you got them so I know where they are. You know what I mean? So, especially with an axe, if you're chopping stuff, you might tend to leave it in the stump, or, place it on the ground next to you or whatever when you're picking up the pieces that you just chopped. So it's good to have. So what we're going to do is, let me put this over to the side. I'll go over some of the things you're going to need. So you're going to need some leather. I just have 3 pieces here. You only need 2 pieces, but I made a smaller one and then a longer one for the loop, and I'll explain that. So what you're going to do is figure out what width you want it. This is 2 inches. You can make it, I would suggest no smaller than about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches, but I went with 2 inches, okay? So the longer one is going to be the belt loop. And then the shorter one is going to be the actual loop that holds the axe. So I cut out some templates so I get an idea of how long to make the leather. And the way this is going to work is you're going to round that up like that. You're going to place that in there. Okay, you're going to punch 4 holes inside there, and I'll show you that. And then you're going to use these Chicago screws. So it's basically a post and a screw. I really don't know why they call them Chicago screws. I should have looked that up, but let me show you what they look like. I have 2 types. I have the bronze color and I have the silver color. I'm not sure what I'm going to use. I think I might use this bronze color because they're kind of going to be hidden and then they'll sort of disappear in there. And the way these work is you're going to punch a hole the size of the post, and then the other side just gets screwed in. So this is basically a no sew, no glue belt loop. So you need your Chicago screws. Now this is just an option. If you have one, great. This is the beveling tool. If you don't, you can use sandpaper. And then of course you're going to need a hole punch. So like I said, first thing is you're going to make yourself a template. Make sure everything fits in there. Make sure that the loop is big enough that the bottom of the axe could fit through. Okay? And that it's wide enough up here for the axe to sit like that. Hopefully that's all showing up. Alright, so let me clear this up and we'll do some layout on the actual leather. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to get your loop piece and kind of hold it in your hand like this. And then you want to get the belt loop piece and you want to kind of lay that in there while you're holding the back closed like that. And then make sure that your axe slips in there and goes up to the top. Now you can make this any size you want. You can make it loose, you can make it tighter. I don't feel the need to make it too tight, because once it's in there, it's not going anywhere. And you got to remember, you're going to be putting the Chicago screws in there, so they're going to take up a little space. So I think that we'll be okay with that. Plenty of room to fit in. So that's going to be your first step. Your second step is get your hole punch. And again, you can do this in any order that you prefer. And you're going to get a little scrap piece, punch a hole in it, Then you want to make sure that your post slips through. Okay, that's the wrong size. I actually got to get a bigger one, because I actually change these for depending on what I'm using. So let me get a bigger punch, and I'll be right back. All right, I added a bigger punch end on it. Let's try that one. Perfect. You don't want it too loose, and you don't want it too tight where you're messing up the leather. All right, so now we know the size that we have to punch. We can put that on the side. So now we have this cut to the size we want. And we know that this is 2 inches wide, okay? So we have to lay out where we want our holes. So the way I'm gonna do it is, I'm gonna put a piece of tape on here just so I don't mess up the leather. And I'm gonna mark from this end to this side edge here 1 inch. So that when this is folded around, it'll be 2 inches wide. Then we'll lay out our 4 holes for the Chicago screws. So let me get a little tape and a marker, and I'll show you how that works. Alright, so I just have some plain masking tape. We're going to go about 1 inch in. So I'll just get an eyeball there. Alright, now we'll make our mark at 1 inch. Okay, this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, because the thickness of the pencil there is actually adding a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. We're just going to lay out where the holes are going to go. So now if you fold that over, you should be about 2 inches apart. And we are. So we're good. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to lay out where you're going to punch your holes. Okay? So, let me get one of those. So the head is going to sit like that, right? So figure out where you want the holes to go. You don't want it to be too close this way, and you don't want it to be too close towards the edge. So I would say probably about 1/2 inch in, maybe a little bit more. Maybe about right there. Let's see what that is. Again, I never made one of these before, so I watched a few videos and I'm taking it from there. Alright, so I'm going to say about 3/4, maybe 11/16. Look at that, it's right on 11/16. So we're going to go with that. So I'm going to put another piece of tape on here because I didn't keep that over far enough. And we're going to make a mark at 11/16. Let me grab another screw. You're getting to see my thought process when I make something. This bag is messed up. I'm going to rip this off, and I have more of these bags. We'll put it in a new one. So we'll get another one. So we're going to go 11/16 that way. And then we're going to go I got a terrible glare there. That looks about 5/8. So we'll say about 5/8 down from the edges and 11/16 in that way. And I'll make a little center mark, and then we'll punch this out. So let me get that drawn on there. Okay, so I have that all laid out. Now, I did change the dimensions this way. I went 1/2 inch up here and 1/2 inch up here. So I think that looks pretty good. And once it's turned over, They will be an inch and a half apart. So I think we're good. So now I'm going to punch these out. I won't bore you watching me punch it because it's basically the same as doing this. Boom. And I'll punch all 4 holes. Alright, so we got our 4 holes punched for the loop part that the axe is going to go into. Now we have to punch the 4 holes in our leather for the belt loop, okay, which is going to go like this. And we're going to capture this inside here, and this is going to go over the top. So basically that's what we're going to have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out a center line here at 1 inch, because these are this is 2 inches, so we want a 1 inch line going down here, which I'll just draw, and then I'll butt this up to that 1 inch line, and then I'll punch those holes on both sides, and I'll be back. Got all our holes punched, and the next step is you're gonna basically put this in here, line up your holes, put your Chicago screws in with the shiny part without the slot for the screw, facing on the inside. So I'll show you this quickly how. So basically that's what you're going to do on these two. You'll fold this over and you'll do it on that side, and that's what you end up with. And again, you can make this loop any size you want. Well, I made this to fit at least a 2 inch belt, but we're going to fancy it up. Alright, I mean, you can leave it just the way it is like this and be done with it, natural leather, but we're going to bevel the edges and we're going to dye it. So let's get at that. Alright, so everything else from here on it is just, you know, fancying it up. So I think I've shown this before a few times, but basically this is a beveling tool, okay, and that cleans up the edge. So you'll do that on both sides. This way when you burnish it, you get a nice round look. So I'll do that on all the pieces, both pieces, that's all there is. And then I'll bring you back and I'll show you how I got that molted, I guess you want to call it, or variegated color on the on this handle here. So we're going to try to duplicate that for this, so we sort of have a matching set. So once I get the beveling done, I'll be back. Alright, so here's the dye I was talking about. Saddle tan mixed with some black. I'll show you on a piece of scrap what I did. Don't want to get too much, running low. So basically put one coat on like this. Didn't worry about filling in every little spot. Okay, then I let that dry, and then I took a little bit more and I kind of went like this. And then I let that dry. And once it was all dry, I would look at it. If I had any places I didn't like, I would just go over them like this. And I ended up with that mottled color. So I'm going to do that on the pieces for the belt loop. And when that's all dry, we'll be back and we'll assemble it. Alright, so my stain has dried. I don't know where all those little bumps came from, but I kind of like them. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is put some Lexol on it. Leather conditioner. It's the only stuff I use. Just put a little squirt on it. Piece of cloth. And I'm going to rub this in. A little bit of this stuff goes a long way. Again, that's Lexol. I don't use anything else but this. So I'll do that to both pieces, and then I'll bring you back when that's dry. All right, so the Lexol is dry. Then you just buff it with a piece of cloth. So I'm liking the way it looks. So the next step is you're gonna wet the edge, just a little bit of water on your finger, wet the edge, and then I made this burnishing tool, and I also have a machine, electric machine I made for burnishing. It's in my video list if you care to see that. But you basically wet it and you're going to start rubbing this. And try not to stay in one spot because you will put a dent. But just keep rubbing it, rubbing it. Again, if you don't have something like this, again, I made this one. They sell them. You could just use a wooden dowel. You could use a plastic pen, pretty much anything that's smooth. And just keep rubbing it, and you'll get a nice burnished edge. So once these are burnished, I'll be back and show you the next step. Alright, so I finished burnishing it. I didn't go crazy on it. I kind of wanted to look a little rustic. But the next step is going to be some shoe polish. It's just a neutral shoe polish. Just get yourself a little piece of rag. And just get a nice coat on there. Not too much. And then when that dries, we're going to buff that out and we're going to assemble this. So All right, so the wax dried and we got it buffed out. Now we're going to do some assembly. So what we're going to do is we're going to get Chicago screw. Actually, yeah, that goes in there. Yep. Okay, so I'll put all of these four in. Screw goes in the back. Bend it over and do it again. Once it's all attached, I'll bring you back. Alright, so we got all the screws in. So I was saying how they kind of disappear in there. I don't know if that shows up, but with the bronze color. Obviously you see them on the back. But here's the big test. Let's see if we measured everything right. Boom. There she goes. It all matches perfectly, I think. Now I made one more thing I'm going to show you, but I got to go out by a tree. So I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm out at my live oak tree, and here's what I made. It's just an old file handle. It's actually split, but I stuck one of these concrete screws in there. Hopefully that's all showing up. I epoxied it in. Now I'm going to put this right in the tree. Alright, so you put that in the tree, take your axe, and there it is. You'll know where it is. It's off the ground. Anytime you need it, you can pull it right out, or you could just slip the whole thing off. And you can do that with a little piece of branch, obviously. So one more thing, and then we'll wrap this up. Alright, so I'd be remiss not showing it to you on my belt. Comes out easily. You can put it in any way you want. I like it with the blade facing backwards. Simple little belt loop. You can make these for whatever tool you want. Comes in very handy. So everyone, like always, I really appreciate your views. I appreciate all your comments. I hope you're staying safe and healthy. And hope you enjoyed this. This is a real simple one, no stitching involved, and pretty easy to do. And hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.